All right, how's everybody doing? Good afternoon. So, really quick, just like Blake said, Toni Malisani, I'm from Great Falls, Montana. I'm a past president of the Natural Stone Institute, where we cut things like that. If you guys want to move up so you can hear, that's fine too, unless you can hear better back there. But anyway, we're gonna have a little conversation about installation efficiency, and how to make sure that we don't have reworks. Thank you. These are your learning objectives, and honestly, a bunch of words, everything else, but what it really comes down to is setting expectations both with your team and with your customers. Okay, so what are you gonna do and how are you gonna do it? Okay, communicating those expectations or changes, because things change, right, in the course of a project or a job. Right, and the last thing is meeting those expectations. What do you have to do to meet what you've already agreed to with either a general contractor? How many people are or subcontractors, installer? Okay, and then everybody else is fabrication. Okay, countertops. All right, and then the last thing is problem solving and resolving conflicts, punch lists, whatever you want to call it. Because honestly, that's pretty much what it is that we do. Now, not all installs are the same, are they? Right? It's not always walk in, drop off a vanity, turn around, hop in the truck and go. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on is what you do as a company to help your employees succeed. So how many people do training for your installers? Separate, completely different? Okay. So where do you find like an installer? Is it somebody you promoted up from fabrication, or is it somebody you just hire? Anybody hire out the installs? You guys do? Hire out the installation? Okay. And then I guess the final thing would be, do you have a defined methodology for what you're trying to accomplish? So in our particular case, we found it very useful to include the wording in all of our contract documents or purchase order documents that says installations, fabrication will meet natural stone dimensional design manual standards for whatever year it is, okay? So that you have a very defined issue about what is acceptable and what's appropriate. If you don't, you'll have everything from customers that'll say, oh, looks good enough, that's fine, to I can't believe that this color is a little bit different right here in this little 1/4 inch at the seam, okay? So with that being said, that part of what you do, how you affect the reality of what you're doing, is extremely important. And when you look at installation is really boils down to what? It's really just material handling, right? It's getting it in the job site. It's seaming, right? And it's fitting, getting the appliances into place, and making sure everything fits appropriately and is tight. So with that being said, what kind of allowances are built into your installation? Does anybody follow that stuff? I mean, that involved in that far down? Okay, so is it a 1/4 of an inch? Is it a 1/16 of an inch? What? Right, so it's something that's achievable. Or do you tell people that you're gonna scribe the material to fit the wall perfectly? Or do you just cut out the wall? You're laughing, but okay. And then I think another thing that has to be touched on with your installers is, along with the training that goes with it, so practice. So anybody here, go ahead and put, if you've got a decent sized job, do you take the adhesive, take the materials, put them together at the shop, make sure they're acceptable, they look right? Make literally a mock-up? Or are mock-ups something that's done or not? I'm just asking. Because I know on the commercial side, a lot of times we'll make mock-ups of the seams as well as the edges and things like that, so that we don't have an argument later on about, is that something you do? Okay.
Hi. I was just wondering, even with Slabsmith, you still do the dry fit and layout with your seams after you've matched?
So even asking Toni, even with the photo nesting ability, you'd still do the mock-ups?
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, if you think about where you're going to lose time on an installation, you're going to lose time in that final fit and that final finish. So if you don't put those pieces together, and let's say, well, hell, I don't have to let's say my personal experience, they put together a knife mitered edge, couldn't be hauled 200 miles down a dirt road put together, okay? So it had to be done on site, and there was a chip. And the repair of that chip was the most piss poor thing that my guys have done in 4 years. But we didn't say anything. So we have the disadvantage of being in a very remote place, okay? And that's part of our business. We understand that and we know that. But because that wasn't communicated, it was a massive problem with the customer. And while I disagree with her assessment of the situation, and it was taken care of, once that's in their head, that's what they see, right? So she's like, every time I walk in there, I see that. So I saw her a couple of weeks ago, and I asked her if she still sees it, and she still does. But point being that you have the ability, if you define that you're going to make those repairs, you're going to do those things. I mean, you're going to replace basically what ended up being a slab and a half island, seam in the middle, I don't know, 18 feet long, 2 knife mitered edges, waterfall ends. Are you going to replace all of that for one little chip that really, honestly, was not quite that bad? Probably not. But could have saved myself and my team a lot of trouble and a lot of time just by taking care of it before it left. See what I'm saying? And that's what I'm talking about as far as the communication goes. Things are happening all the time. You know what an install is? An install is your final test. So your whole semester is spent showing up, making the template, doing the fabrication, the sales, the communication as far as location on appliances, everything else. But when you go to install, that's your final, right? So with that being said, it's really important that the templating, the guy who templates, how well versed is he? I mean, so I just kind of get an idea. So your templaters, are they new? Are they like video gamers that this is the greatest thing ever? They think this is awesome? Or are these guys that actually have gone and done installations before?
A little bit of both.
Little both? Okay.
Say it again.
Former installers.
Former installers or templaters.
Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, think about this. Your templater can save you so much time and energy and effort. The guy goes in there, he's done this before. He looks at a panel attached, right, for a built-in oven, right? And he looks at it and he's like, oh, we can undo those screws. We can push that panel over a 1/4 inch. So we're going to nest this piece in first, and we're going to seam this down here instead of the other way around because it's a U-shaped kitchen and it's super tight, panels on both sides. How are you going to put that in otherwise? It's going to make it easier on your guys. Those kind of things, I'm sure you can teach it, but I think that having that experience level with that person, boom, right there, you probably just saved $500 at least. And that's not including any damage it might be caused by trying to shoehorn this thing in for a customer that bought a 16th inch thick wall tile and is like, oh, that should be plenty, shouldn't it? Right? The walls are diving in and out, right? So those kind of things, I mean, that's basically the start. And if you don't have sit-downs, we'll talk about that in a little bit, designing your system, you don't have everybody talking, they don't understand. Salespeople a lot of time have no idea. You know what the greatest thing you can do? Send your salespeople on an install. Yeah, especially when, maybe when they first start, maybe not, might scare them away, but I'll tell you what, you get a whole new respect when these guys, you got 3 guys, big guys trying to muscle around this countertop and get it into place and drop it into a space that has a whole 1/8 of an inch, that you can put it into, right? And then it has to be perfectly aligned because you've got a French seam in it or something like that. And it's a thing, and these guys do it every day. And we ask them to do it every day, right? And we expect them to do a perfect job. It's not the easiest thing to do. So training them, keeping them up to speed is a huge help. And then giving them the tools that they need to do those jobs. How about repairs? Anybody? So what, I did this a couple days ago, but what is considered repairable? So if you have a chip on the edge of, I don't know, let's say a schist or something like this, is that something that you would just repair, right? How about if you break off a 1-inch piece on a corner? Is that repairable? Okay. So that being said, do you ever go in the shop, grab a piece of scrap, break the corner off, and go fix this? So the first time you have to do something, is it a little stressful? Yeah, it is, right? So give them a little bit of experience. There's always times that those guys are there, you know, something's not quite ready. They don't have time to load it up and get going first thing. They've got a half an hour, whatever's in there. Give them a little bit of training. Go over the new adhesives. I mean, can you believe? I mean, when I started, there was a Kimi. That was it. Now, there's polyurethanes, polyesters, polyacrylate. I mean, all kinds of everything. So give them some training, give them some confidence, because these are the guys you're going to lean on. These are the guys that are finishing it. These are the guys that are taking the test. And then help them to go ahead.
Quick question, Tony. What if we're not qualified to train employees on that? What type of tools are out there to help? Say I'm the owner and I'm not qualified to train an employee to fix that chip. How would I deal with that?
You can either get your fab guys to do it, or what we like to do is we pick on the vendors. A lot of these vendors just sell you material and then they don't follow it up with good training. Sanger. I'm just kidding. But yeah, almost all of these companies will send out a sales rep, and they'll spend an hour, 2 hours with your people, talk about selection of glues. So one big thing is that if they don't have the experience, is unrepairable, is bleed into a marble installation. You use the wrong adhesive to put something together with marble, it's just done. You will be ripping that out. There is no way to undo that, okay? So that training becomes incredibly critical, because you're not gonna be there. Or maybe your lead guy isn't there. Maybe he's sick, maybe whatever the situation is. Them having the ability to make that decision is a great thing. Better yet, put together a little guide. Does anybody have an install guide? Dang. Do you have a sales guide? I know you have a sales guide, but you have a sales guide for your salespeople, right? It's like, okay, I don't want you selling travertine in the shower, especially unfilled, right? Or whatever it is, okay? But why don't you have that for your people in the field, right? What's the one we use for the marble? See, this is why, to have these guys here. Hey, Johnny, marble. What is it? Hyperclear. Hyperclear. Okay, that's just one company. So it's like, okay, you're doing marble, you need to take Hyperclear with you. Those things, I mean, you're not going to uninvent it. And I'll tell you what, the local Ace or Home Depot doesn't carry Hyperclear.
But quick plug for the. Does everyone know that Natural Stone Institute has an install guide that you can just purchase and put in your vehicles and make it part of your process? Just like Tony mentioned, they reference the design manual. So they have an install guide with all the specifications from that design manual that I know we have in every one of our install vehicles, and it's very easy to. It's a wonderful tool.
And then what else are you giving your people? Where are you going? Do you have a map? Because it's great to say we're going to use GPS, but like I was at, where's I at the other day? I guess the Courtyard by Marriott, and I didn't realize that in Atlanta, after 11, they shut down the taxis. Uber wasn't working, the app was down. It's like, you know what? This could happen to your guys, right? Phone's not working, maps aren't working, whatever it is. Do you give them a physical map to get to the job? Tell them who they're meeting. Let them know what time they got to be there, right? All those things are important things, and they should be in that installation package we'll talk about in a little bit. And then I think we already touched enough as far as, do you have everything you could possibly need? But I send my guys with everything to do whatever could pop up. Little piece of plastic in case I got to make a dust shroud, because if you're on the 3rd floor of an install, are you really going to take that piece, take it downstairs, someplace that you can not make dust with, what does it have in it now? Silicosis that everybody's going to die from if you even touch it, right? I mean, our life has gotten a lot more complicated, especially for those people that are, on the job site. And then, we use a checklist. I'm sure all of you guys do too, but we actually have a physical checklist that they use to make sure that all of those products are on that truck, and somebody is expected to go through it before, at the end of the day, or before they start that day, depending on which crew it is. So, all right, and then job site behavior. You know, this is the test. You should probably show up ready to take the test, right? So, make a good first impression. Make sure that everybody introduces themselves. Ask, can I park here? Is it okay if I park here? They may make assumptions. They might be on top of a sprinkler head or something like that. Who knows, okay? Is it okay if we come through this part of the house? Does everybody use surface protection? So you're putting down tarps or carpet mask or whatever it is to make sure you don't damage anything in the house. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, but I think one of the biggest things is photos, photos, photos. So when those guys go in the house at first, take pictures, right? Because you may or may not notice that 1 inch off the floor on the freezer drawer of the fridge, there's a big ding in there from the furniture guy bringing in furniture. I don't know, whatever, right? But you may or may not notice it. So take pictures of everything before, during, and after, okay? And if you make a mess, clean it up, right? Just good job site behavior. We talked a little bit about the panels, uppers. Does anybody ever go on a job so the templater doesn't say anything? Because when he was there, right, it's like, okay, so this is going to rest on the countertop, so we put a piece of 2x4 in there to hold it, you know, just so we could kind of see. But we really want you to get done so we can get the crown mold in. And we want to do that next week, but you're not going to be here for 2 weeks. But we're going to leave this out. It'll be all okay. And then your guys show up, and yeah, they moved it. It's now 1 3/4 inches above the other cabinet. And they're expecting, and better yet, you have a seam under it. Might as well finish it off, right? And they're like, I don't understand what your problem is, right? So those are the kind of communication things. That templater, depending on what system you use, and everybody, I mean, whether it's manual or you using the laser or the pointer, whatever it is, everybody has the opportunity to make notes. Those notes should be printed out and they should be given to the install crew so they can say, hey, this window casing now makes it so I can't get this piece in. It has to come off. Okay? It happens all the time, and it's crazy. But it's part of what we have to deal with. Installers. Everybody have their installers do a report? I think everybody, first of all, do you do a customer report? So a customer says, I'm totally satisfied, you guys were great. You know, they weren't great, whatever it is, give them a ranking for, you know, the critical things. All the seams are okay, I checked the seams, the appliances fit, all of that. Yes? That's okay? No? You're the man. What are you doing here? Come on, take this. You don't have a final? But I'm saying you don't have something the customer signs that says, specifically I checked the seams or whatever it is that you find that you have difficulty with. I mean, for us, that's one of the
No, we don't
big
do
points.
anything like that. Usually they write us a check and we go on our way. So as soon as they hand us their check.
So where are you from?
I'm from Brevard, North Carolina, up by Asheville. We're a little different up
Did your
there.
family found the town or something?
There's like 4 families that own the town, but yeah.
But my point is you never get that opportunity, and I talked about this the other day. There's a little bit of euphoria that comes with your countertops going in, right? Because it's a stress point, it's an inflection point for construction, right? Because up to that point, it's cabinets, it's whatever, it's roughed in electrical, whatever it is. But once those countertops go in, plumbing's done, electrical's done, right? All of a sudden, you can actually use your kitchen. You don't have to wash the dishes in the tub or in the horse trough in the back of the house or whatever it is, right? So this is a huge thing. Take advantage of that. Walk them through it. Make sure they're okay with it. There's no reason to be shy about it. If they're not happy, find out. Take care of it then. Because no matter what, as soon as you walk 10 steps out that door, it's going to take you longer to get back and repair it than it will to take care of it right there, right? So with that being said, do your installers do a report too? Because sometimes we don't necessarily share everything with the homeowner, right? So, I mean, if you do have to trim something or do something, right, then you're going to need to take care of that. But you need to communicate that back down the line. So what are, for us, my personal experience, my guys, a lot of times they'll miss a corner that should have been polished. So it's got to be polished by hand, or you get whatever it is, right? Take care of that. Some of the other things, anchors. So depending on what you're using for sink supports, maybe the anchor holes didn't get put in place. One of them or two of them or whatever it is. So they've got to work around that. Is there ways to work around it? Absolutely. But it doesn't save time because your system's not being used the way it should be. So with all of those things, if they're communicated back, people start to understand. And then when you do that, so I like the term rework, because to me, when it comes to installation, there is no rework in installation. The rework shit already happened before you got there. It should have been taken care of. If you don't have QC, measure in the pieces to make sure they actually are the right size. If there's a taper or something like that, did it get put into the material? You know, all these things that kind of can be run past or not done, right? They need to get taken care of. And if they're not, you need to go back to that source. Did the salesperson, is the customer actually upset because you promised to have it done in 2 weeks, but you got it done in 2 weeks and 5 days or 3 days or something like that? If that's what they're upset about, is that really something that was an installation problem, or is it a sales problem? So tracing those things back to the original source is actually the key to not having reworks in installation. Because the installation, if everybody else does their job, we could have the homeowner install it. Other than it's heavy and it breaks. But those are the things that can help you out and make sure that down the road, so, and you can tell me if you've never had this happen, that someone was extremely satisfied and then they had Christmas or a party or whatever, and their neighbor came in and goes, oh, that is the worst seam. Oh, I can't even look at it, it's so bad. And then you get a call back and they're like, you know, I'm a little concerned about this seam. You mean the one that was perfect a month ago? That one? That's what I'm saying. I mean, and honestly, I'm not going to say we've used that to our advantage, but we have in the past, because it's like, okay, so that's that survey here that you got all fives, and that exact seam you said was acceptable. So you don't get a chance to capture that information later, so getting it while you're there is really important. And then, like I said, we like to try to narrow down installation issues. So what are the problems we have? And like I said, things not being polished, not being finished, not properly finished, not properly cut. Those are misfabricated, whatever political term we want to use, depending on whose feelings we're going to hurt. Those are the things. I mean, it's like I said, it's not rocket science. Somewhere down the line, somebody's accountable for what happened. And then changes. I think that is one of the biggest things too. So do you have the ability, does your team have the ability to put through charges because things are delayed? So, you know, it's like, okay, well, the appliances are going to be here in another half an hour, so you guys need to be done, so you put them into place, right? And the appliances don't show up for, you know, an hour, hour and a half. And the homeowner wants the appliances there because they're going to check off that the appliances fit. I mean, the guys might not mind spending time on their phone, chit-chatting, whatever, but it's costing you money, right? So do you have the ability to upcharge for those type of things? Or is the job just not even ready? You know, you show up and they told the templater, oh, we're going to replace this cabinet, but it's the exact same size, so don't worry about it. And they show up and the cabinet's not even there. But they're going to slide it in underneath. That's my fave right there. We're going to slide it in underneath. It'll be perfect. Anyway, go ahead.
How do you put a price tag on that? Because an hour turns into 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then pretty soon you're paying overtime for your guys also. How do you give that back to the builder or the homeowner at a rate that they can understand? Because they're not going to pay your guys overtime to stand around. You give them that rate, they would have a heart attack. But yet you got to get some money from them.
You just put it in there by the hour. So $80 an hour per man, or $100 an hour per man, or whatever it is. I agree, you can't make it $1,000 an hour per man, but a reasonable amount. And if you do it at the beginning when you sign the contract, it's pretty clear. You know, and then it's amazing how it's like, okay, well, that's fine. We'll have the appliance guys put them in and let you know. Okay, well, here's the thing. We're not making the trip back for free, right? I mean, these are difficult things to communicate necessarily. If there's a general contractor involved, usually it's not that big a deal, but sometimes they're not involved. Sometimes the homeowner's doing it. Maybe it's a retrofit or something like that. So there is no one answer, but I think protecting yourself and then learn from your mistakes, right? So we used to charge, I think, I don't know, some ridiculous sum like $15 a foot for an outlet to cut into a backsplash or a countertop, right? 15 bucks. I had a gal who went and installed the job, and she goes, I decided to put in all round pop-up outlets, and there's 4 of them. What? You know, and it was a product, we couldn't do it dry. It had to be done wet. I mean, so now all of a sudden that goes to, so then we add on the verbiage that says in-shop fabrication prices, right? So anything you got to do on the job site goes to this whatever billable rate that you put together. So I think those are, but learn from your own situation, because yours is not the same as mine, is not the same as hers. We don't all have the same situation, but you can easily deal with it. It's just, you know, everything you do should be dynamic. It should be changing all the time. If your contract today looks like it did 3 years ago, you're probably in sore need of a review, of taking a look at it. And then there's the final other things. I mean, I guess I would say a difficult customer is not an issue. That's something that the expectations weren't set properly. That's really what's going on. But communication's the key. So along with everything else your people have, they ought to have a punch list or customer survey that says, you know, everything's great, and if it's not great, now the punch list comes out, and you define everything on the job. It's not just this one seam, or, you know, it's like, we're going to go over this thing now with a fine-tooth comb. You're going to tell me everything that's wrong, and come heaven or heck, we're going to fix it right here, right now, so we don't have to make another trip. There's no money in making additional trips, right? So give your people, and train them how to fill it out. A lot of times you're like, here's the form. You didn't fill it out right. Well, nobody showed them how to do it. It may make sense to you. It might not make sense to them or the homeowner, okay? And then get them to sign it when it's done. So we resolved this, we resolved that. You're happy now? Sign it, done. And make sure, we talked about the DSDM on site. There's a countertop module that basically tells the customer exactly what they should expect from their installation, what's an acceptable lippage at the seam, what's an acceptable coloration for a repair, all of that, okay? And then the care and maintenance. You should have a care and maintenance. Blake's got a great deal. They give the customer, they got care and maintenance, they got the product, so they can come back in and buy it again, everything else. I mean, those are all things that, you know, that's the last deal. Here's your gift, thank you, move on. And I guess the last thing, and I'll stick around and talk with you guys, but I need to finish up. Remember that communication is the key to all of this. So that's, you set the expectation, you communicate the whole way through, make sure that you're doing what it is that they want done so that they understand what they're getting. But if you look at this, so if somebody comes into your shop and says, hey, can you cut this up for me? I just want 4 equal pieces. So, does that mean this? Or does it mean this? Picture's worth 1,000 words. So, any other questions? I know it was kind of fast, but no?
Guide that you just talked about, the kind of the handout to the installation and what is the patch and all that, what's acceptable. Do you have that to share?
What's that? Do I have that?
The guide that you just talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got it over at the NSI. They sell them. So it's a book. It's literally a book, but there's 2 companion ones. So my suggestion would be, one is for the homeowner, so it's a homeowner's guide to natural stone selection and installation. Nice name. It is almost verbatim to the installation guide that the installers have.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, the nice thing about that is it's not you trying to convince your client this is the right way. It's a third party, it's the Natural Stone Institute saying this is the acceptable standard.
So, I mean, does anybody top polish That used to be a thing. I don't know if it's still a thing or not, whatever. But if you're top polishing, you need to charge for it, right? Because if you don't top polish, it's way faster. But if you do top polish, then you're setting a whole new expectation, right? Or, you know, I mean, there's half a dozen things that, you know, are in play. But do you have to top polish? No, you don't. Do you know what the lippage is? What's acceptable? 16 or 32nd of an inch. That's the thickness of a credit card. Close your eyes and think of that customer that would be thrilled with that, right? But if you've got a schist product that's very expansive and you cut it at a spot that's been bruised or touched, it's going to puff up. That might be all you can do. That might be the best you can do. So it's protection, it's communication for them to help them understand what they're going to get, and it's protection for you that you're not trying to do things that are impossible. All right, anything else? All right, thank you.
Let's give Toni a round of applause. Again, Toni will be around for questions. Great wealth of knowledge. Toni's a great friend and a great pinnacle in the industry. We're going to be back here at 1 o'clock talking about something really, really important right now, silica safety. Mark Mario is going to give us a presentation on silica safety at 1 o'clock here at the Fabricator stage. Quick reminder, visit the Natural Stone Institute booth, the Rockhead booth, and the ISFA booth. All great associations to help you build your business and help you grow your business. 1 o'clock, silica safety. Thank you.